Let's grow together. And now our message for today. Wonderful you, Reverend Martin.
You're going to feel better when I've finished speaking this morning, and not because I've finished speaking. You're going to feel better because I'm going to tell you something special about you. And my starting point is from a psalm in the Hebrew scriptures, and the poet, the singer, is speaking to spirit and says, I give thanks to you because I have been so amazingly and miraculously made. I give thanks to you because I am so amazingly and miraculously made. Do you ever wake up and take a good look in the mirror and say to yourself, no doubt about it, I'm amazingly and wonderfully made? Well, if you ever consider yourself inferior or even just plain old ordinary, you're not seeing yourself as God's divine creation. When we discover the truth that we are God's perfect, unique design, it's almost overwhelming. You and I are the products of spirit, conceived in spirit, and made out of spirit. We are literally spirit energy spun into physical form. Now, in the early days of our New Thought movement, there was a great deal of emphasis on health, healing, and well-being, and we still go there. And even though we study and practice something we call the science of mind, a great deal of that science involves the body, maintaining it in its original perfection and correcting whatever might have caused the body to get out of balance. Now, we know that mind, and that's mind with a capital M, is the organizer of all things, the originator of all things. It is a universal intelligence that knows everything, is everywhere present in its entirety, and it is all powerful. And above all, mind is creative. It has the power to become whatever it imagines. So ultimately, mind is everything. But what about the body? Well, according to medical science, your body is a chemical factory, and illness can be eliminated by giving you chemicals to correct your chemical imbalance. According to surgeons, your body is like fabric, and you can alleviate suffering by cutting a bit here and there, taking out this or adding that. And according to chiropractors, your body is a mechanical structure, like an erector set, and illness can be eliminated by adjusting the structure. According to Mrs. Mary Baker Eddy and Christian Science, you don't have a body. Matter is said to be an illusion, and therefore illness and death don't exist. They are merely mistakes of human consciousness. Now, saying there's no such thing as matter is where Mrs. Eddy, in my opinion, got it wrong. Of course, if she were here, she would say that my not becoming a Christian scientist is where I got it wrong. Certain monastic traditions of the East and the West acknowledge the existence of the body, but feel that it's corrupt and inferior to spirit. And therefore, the mind and the spirit must be exalted and the body put down. For example, it is said that when Saint Augustine was experiencing feelings of desire or lust, he would strip off his clothes and go out back and roll in the bramble bushes. Now, I've never tried this, but I'm guessing that rolling naked amongst thorns is quite effective at eliminating lust. Well, the health of our bodies is directly related to our thoughts, and as we shall see, our memories as well. Our bodies are responsive to our spiritual practices, and therefore our bodies are operating in cooperation with spirit and our individual consciousness. Now, even the most decrepit and disease-ridden body is doing things that cannot be duplicated by our most advanced technology. And in the weakest body, more is going right than is going wrong, or life would have left it already. So consider just a few facts about the human body. Your heart creates enough pressure to squirt blood 30 feet. No wonder you can feel your heartbeat so easily. Pumping blood through your body quickly and efficiently takes a lot of pressure because your body has about 60,000 miles of blood vessels. To put that into perspective, the distance around the Earth is about 25,000 miles. So your blood vessels, if laid end to end, would circle the equator more than 2 times. The acid in your stomach is strong enough to dissolve razor blades. Now, take my word for this one. You certainly shouldn't test it by eating a razor blade. But the acids that digest your food are not to be taken lightly. Hydrochloric acid, the type found in your stomach, is not only good at dissolving your dinner, but can also eat through many types of metal. Makes you wonder why your stomach is still here. Well, it's still here because you get a new stomach lining every 2 to 4 days. The mucus-like cells that line the walls of your stomach would soon dissolve due to the strong digestive acids in your stomach if they weren't being constantly replaced. Your lungs are a little bit like the middle part of an accordion. They have pleats or folds in order to maximize the amount of oxygen that you can take in. If you were to take one of your lungs and smooth it out so it's completely flat, the surface area would be comparable in size to a tennis court. You could remove a large part of your internal organs and still live. The human body may appear to be fragile, but it's possible to survive even with the removal of the stomach, the spleen, 75% of the liver, 80% of the intestines, 1 kidney, 1 lung, and most every organ from the pelvic and groin area. You might not feel too great, but removing these organs would not kill you. The strongest muscle in the human body is the tongue. Now, while you may not be able to bench press much with your tongue, it is in fact the strongest muscle in your body in proportion to its size. Every time you eat, swallow, or talk, you use your tongue, ensuring it gets quite a workout throughout the day. And metaphysically and metaphorically, the tongue, because it speaks the word, is the most powerful predictor of your experience. Yes, you are amazingly and wonderfully made. These are just a few of your physical characteristics. And as impressive as they are, they're nothing compared to our mental and spiritual capacities. And since God is all there is, it's an absolute fact that you and I are some part of God, made out of God's stuff. And yet, we've had thousands of years of consistent teaching that people are no good, that they're born in sin, that they're born to sin, and they will go to hell. It was to the benefit of the powerful to promote this idea of human wretchedness, as it made the masses easier to control, and it gave the religious authorities tremendous leverage over society. Now, although some enlightened souls through the ages knew better, it wasn't until around the 1860s that a positive, organized, deliberate movement began to teach the general public that what they'd been taught for millennia wasn't so. People like the transcendentalists, Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau, said that a human being is a spiritual idea in the mind of God and therefore is wonderful. that we're not born to sin, or not born in sin, but born in love. And we're not born to sin, but to live a full, productive life. And furthermore, there is no physical hell. So if you ever told someone to go there, that's not where they are. Now, you are the only life form that can create. All other life forms can procreate, but not create. You and I can create out of our own consciousness. No dog, cat, or horse could have conceived and created this center. And no animal could do even the crudest stickman drawing. We are creative beings, and we're free to create what we call good and what we call bad. And we have to take responsibility for our creations. And whatever is going on in our lives, we have choices along the way. Now, just as telling a child that he's bad sets him up to act that out, telling humanity for eons that it's weak and powerless and corrupt has tended to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. When we awake to who we really are, we begin to experience life more abundantly. We become conscious co-creators with the infinite intelligence, infinite love, infinite goodness. The infinite created the universe and is still creating the universe. And the universe is constantly expanding. And we are part of the universe. We couldn't be separated from it. And therefore, if the universe is expanding, then we too are expanding. You are a conscious mind operating in a field of infinite possibilities. You are the play of life upon itself. Every waking moment, you are consciously thinking, subconsciously reacting, and this combination is always productive, which is to say it produces a product. We are never free of the creative process in any waking hour. So this is the gift of life. Life is intelligence in action. And when used intelligently, it creates what we call good. And when it's used unintelligently, it's at the very least unsatisfying, and it may even be catastrophic. Now, if you've been here in this teaching for any length of time, you know that your world, including your body, is shaped by your thoughts. Like attracts like. So our thoughts manifest as our reality, for better or for worse. But there's something else to consider. To a great degree, our experience of life depends upon our memories. For example, an inferiority complex is built up over time from memories of past failures or embarrassments. Anger management issues are built up over time by obsessing over perceived slights, snubs, and disrespect. These and other problems are created and sustained by memories. The memories remain there as long as we revisit them from time to time. And since memories are recollections of the past, you may think there's not much you can do about them, but that's not so. Psychologists tell us that we don't really remember a past event. What we remember is the last time we remembered that event. And that means that we may remember the past differently with the passage of time. Our memory of an event may become more negative or more positive, and we can consciously choose to improve a memory, no matter how bad it was. The bad news is that negative memories tend to be more powerful than positive memories, and this is because we invest more emotion in bad memories. Anger, fear, and shame are high dramas, while a memory that is pleasant is pleasant. But the good news is that each time we revisit a memory, it becomes flexible. The memory can change a little every time we recall it, and it can reset stronger and more vividly with every recall. So as an example, remember the phrase, forgive and forget. Our memory of having been wronged can become a powerful, all-consuming resentment or even rage. We remember the last time we were upset by the memory, and we may get even more upset than the last time. But when we choose to forgive, we may or may not forget the incident, but we forget the resentment. Where there was a bitterness, hurt, or rage, we experience peace. And this has a positive impact on blood pressure, digestion, the respiratory system, and every other function of the body. How to modify a memory? Well, in the case of forgiveness, perhaps you realize that the person who wronged you didn't do it on purpose. Or maybe you realize that a person was doing the best he could, considering what he was dealing with. Maybe you just realize that holding a grudge is hurting you a whole lot more than it's hurting her. Whatever, our memories are subject to change over time. So we may as well see to it that they change for the better. It takes work and a willingness to change, but the results can improve your life in so many ways. But the ability to remember isn't confined just to the mind. It's in the body as well. Now, metaphysicians have known this for centuries, but now it's being discovered by science. There is intelligence in the tiniest cell, and that intelligence includes the ability to remember. Stem cells, famous for their ability to become any kind of cell the body needs, kidney cell, heart cell, lung cell, whatever. These little cells have an ability to store memories. New studies suggest that stem cells, in partnership with the immune system, can use these memories to improve the responses of tissues to later injuries or attacks by bacteria or viruses. In studies of chronic inflammatory diseases, researchers found that cells seem to communicate with the immune system directly. They don't communicate with the brain, and then the brain passes that along to the immune system. It's a direct communication between the stem cells and the immune system, and the stem cells remember the results of that messaging, and they use it in the future. So, for example, inflamed skin on mice that was allowed to heal was found to heal 2.5 times faster the next time at the same spot. The memory served as a record of what had worked before. As one researcher put it, it makes more sense that a tissue would learn from its experiences. That way, it doesn't have to reinvent the wheel every single time. So just as our conscious memories can be either good or bad, so too can our cellular memories, and bad cellular memories can wreak havoc on our bodies. Yes, negative emotions can live in our cells and they can do tremendous damage. But we have the power to reverse that damage by changing our cellular memories. By the way, the researchers into cellular memory say that they have no idea how a cell can retain a memory. But I think you and I know every single cell in the universe contains the entirety of intelligence. Call it God, spirit, or creative mind. It's in every person, place, and thing. And it's in every cell, structure, and system. It's all God, and it's all responsive to our thoughts and memories. Intelligence created the body with the intention of it always functioning perfectly. Intelligence always contemplates the body as being in a pristine state, and it works tirelessly to keep it that way. Our cells remember that perfect ideal, the perfect spiritual prototype. And when we live in harmony with life, all is well, right down to the individual cell. I ran across a website this week run by a woman named Daniela, who had experienced extreme chronic pain for quite some time. But when she stumbled across information on this mind body memory connection, things started to make sense. She writes, about a year ago, I couldn't sit up in a chair, walk more than a couple of steps, or get a good night's sleep. The muscles in my back were as hard as rocks and so tight that they twisted me up like a crooked stick. My mental health suffered as I faced a life of solitude, constant pain, and the isolating depression that came with that. I fought this debilitating condition for about 3 years as I was batted between doctors, surgeons, chiropractors, physical therapists, and osteopaths. Nothing worked. In fact, every treatment I had made me worse. I ended up in a wheelchair at times, and I was utterly broken inside. The more fear I had and the more despair I felt, the worse the symptoms got, which totally makes sense now that I understand what was happening to me. One day, someone posted on Facebook about a book called Healing Back Pain by Dr. John Sarno. I was thoroughly skeptical at the time, but I was also utterly desperate and ready to try anything. Dr. Sarno was a pioneer in his field and spent his career educating patients and practitioners about the mind-body connection. His theory was that repressed emotions and unaddressed past traumas can cause our nervous systems to get stuck in a stress response mode. By not allowing the process, not allowing myself to process traumatic events or threatening scenarios in my life, I was literally toxifying my body with an immense amount of stress. And then she discovered things that we're very familiar with in this teaching. She discovered meditation, visualization, and journaling. And she worked with those conscientiously. And she writes, after about 2 months of consistent practice and learning along the way, I started to have pain-free days, whole days. And then the days turned into weeks. And to cut a long story short, here I am today, completely chronic pain-free, anxiety-free for the most part, and no longer living in fear of my body, convinced that something is broken. Shockingly, I'm now grateful for my pain and what it taught me. Since recovering, I've reinvented my whole life. I've become much more resilient and courageous. I fully accept myself for exactly who I am. I can only wish the same for you. I know this is hard to believe, but keep an open mind and do some research of your own. If you try this approach, and if you're anything like me, you'll be even more surprised at what you find out about yourself. What you find out is wonderful you. Really, the fact that you're here at all is a wonder. You started out as 2 cells, and now you have this magnificent vehicle of spirit, mind, and body. Deepak Chopra writes, when you were first conceived, you were just a double strand of DNA in a fertilized ovum. It divided 50 times only. In 50 replications, you had 100 trillion cells, which is more than all the stars in the Milky Way galaxy. And each cell does about 6 trillion things per second. And every cell knows instantly what the other cells are doing. How does a human body think thoughts, play a piano, kill germs, remove toxins, and make a baby all at the same time? There's an inner intelligence in your body, and that inner intelligence is consciousness. It's the ultimate in supreme genius, which mirrors the wisdom of the universe. So it's a miracle that you're here, and how you use your gifts is your unique miracle. Think of yourself as intelligence in action. Yes, you have a magnificent body, but it can't walk across the room until you tell it to. As wonderful as your body is, your intelligence is in charge of it. Deepak Chopra again. We are the only creatures on earth who can change our biology by what we think and feel, which is similar to our shorthand slogan, change your thinking, change your life. Or as Bruce Lipton puts it, your thinking, change your DNA. Now, most of us have good days and bad days. We live lives of mixed results because our thoughts are mixed. We think in random ways, and therefore we get random results. Our memories are conflicted and confused, so we're like a ship without a rudder. But the wonder of life is that you get to organize your thinking and thus organize who you are. The wonder of you is that you get to direct the creative power of the universe in your own life. The greatest imaginable power is waiting for you to direct it. And it's nearby. In fact, it's within you, which is, sadly, the last place most people ever think to look. Saint Augustine said, people travel to wonder at the height of the mountains, or the huge waves of the sea, at the long course of the rivers, at the vast compass of the oceans, at the circular motion of the stars, and yet they pass by themselves without wondering. Why don't we see the wonder in ourselves? Probably because we don't really see ourselves anymore. What we see every day tends to disappear. What's always in view is invisible to you. And the other problem is that we tend to see ourselves as just me, ignoring the fact that we are, in the words of the psalmist, awesomely and wonderfully made. To think of anything less is to denigrate God. Norman Vincent Peale paraphrased the psalm that I quoted a few minutes ago. I praise you because I am awesomely and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, and you made me. It was you who created my innermost self, and I thank you for the wonder of myself, for the wonder of your works. All the wonders you seek are within yourself. A few minutes ago, I asked, do you ever wake up and take a good look in the mirror and tell yourself, yep, no doubt about it, I'm amazingly and wonderfully made? Well, what if you said that regularly? What if you said it every day for 21 days, which psychologists say is the length of time it takes to establish a new habit? And what if that habit became your new memory in your consciousness, right down to the cellular level? In the ancient Greek mystery schools, inscribed above the entry door was this phrase, know yourself. And then once you entered and you learned to know yourself, you were invited to place your hands over your heart and say, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful me. Ernest Holmes, writing in our Science of Mind textbook, says, in the independence of your own mentality, believe and feel that you are wonderful. This is not conceit, it is the truth. What could be more wonderful than the manifestation of infinite mind? No, it is not conceit. It's a simple acknowledgement of who you are, where you came from, and what you're made of. A perfect idea, conceived in the one mind, the one creative intelligence. A perfect idea, urging you to live that life perfectly. A life that can be lived to the fullest by paying attention to the body, the mind, the spirit. So let's take a cue from the ancient psalmist, the Greeks, and Ernest Holmes, and know, really know, who and what we really are. So I invite you to cross your hands over your heart and say it like you mean it. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful me. And that's the truth. And so it is.